Hey y'all. So, today is Memorial Day. It's a day when we honor those veterans who went to battle for this country and unfortunately never came home. But today, this message kind of ties into Memorial Day a little bit. I didn't plan for it to, but it kind of ties in a way. Today's message is gonna be maybe one of the most important ones, if not the most important one I've ever posted on the channel that I've ever talked about. What I'm gonna talk about today is honestly something I'm a little surprised that in, well, a little surprised, but at the same time not surprised that I'm talking about in 2020. But I'm talking about this because I feel it needs to be addressed. And I feel this problem is unfortunately more prevalent than it ever has been. Now, I'm not naive enough to think this message will do anything, will just stop the problem completely, but I'm just talking about it because I feel it needs to be addressed. Something that should have been left in the schoolyard, but even in the schoolyard it wasn't okay. I'm gonna talk about bullying today. You know, bullying may be the most prevalent that it's ever been today. It may be the most accessible that it's been because of the advent of social media, got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I have those things. I I'm not saying those are inherently bad. They can be used for evil purposes just like anything. I want to look at this through Guardian though. I want to look at it what God says about us. Turn to John 3:16 if you would with me. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. All of that verse is important. But I want to focus on the starting line. For God so loved the world. If you're in the world right now, that means he loved you that much. That he sent his son. He sent his son to die for you. The past, present, and future, he sent his son to die for everything, for everyone, for just everyone that's ever lived, everyone that will live. He sent his son to die for them. Ladies and gentlemen, God's opinion of you is the only one that should ever matter. Now, I understand that's easier said than done. I understand that. But his opinion of you is still the only one that matters. And what I get from the gospel, what I read, God loved the world so much, God loved you so much, that he sent his son to die for you so you could have a chance to be with him. I understand it on a psychological level, but personally, I've never really understood why someone can take such joy in tearing another person down, in bullying another person. And for what? Maybe because they're more successful than you are. Maybe because they look a little bit better than you do in your eyes. Maybe because they just just anything, and I can go on and on with that. Just just anything people bully people for. And I don't think people understand what an effect that can have on somebody. People have actually killed themselves. They've committed suicide because of the problem of bullying. And like I said, I'll never really understand why someone would waste their time and waste their energy just torturing another person mentally. I mean, just putting them down, just saying the most deplorable thing to them. I talked earlier about how the advent of social media has made bullying maybe more accessible than it's been. Because you've got something called keyboard warriors. Basically, people who go on Twitter or people who go on Facebook or any social media platform and talk negatively about someone, all under the guise of being anonymous, under the guise of them not finding out that it's you, or anything like that. But, ladies and gentlemen, anything that you post or anything that you say, whether they know it's you or not, it can have an impact on them. It can have a good impact, it can have a joyful impact, or it can have a quite negative, quite detrimental impact. And maybe you're not thinking it can. Maybe that's not your goal. Maybe you just think you're poking fun at somebody or something. But it can have an impact on them more than you can ever imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is easier said than done. I know that. But, like I said, God's opinion of you and what I read in Scripture is the standard he holds for you is the only opinion that should matter. You are his creation. He will never stop loving you. He will never stop pursuing you. He will never close his arms to you. What that ultimately means is you don't have to tear people down. You don't have to tear people down to feel good about yourself or or to build yourself up. You don't have to do that because God already has the highest opinion of you that there could ever be. So much so that He sent His Son to die for you so you could have a chance to live free of worldly desires, free of temptation, that you could have a chance to live with Him and to live for Him. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm not naive enough to think this video will just stop the issue. I may be naive, but I'm not that naive. I'm not, because unfortunately, I know it won't. I know that there'll be some people who, for the lack of a better term, feed on bullying, feed on that negative reaction that they get. I don't understand it. I can't explain it to you, but people like that exist. And unfortunately, they're not barring some divine intervention. Unfortunately, they're not going to stop because that's how they've chosen to live their lives. But God's opinion of you is the only opinion that will ever matter. Not other people's opinion, not even your family's opinion. God's opinion of you and what He says about you is the only opinion that will ever matter. But unfortunately, different people's opinion and what they say about you have seeped in. But God loves you. God will never stop loving you. No matter what you've done, no matter what you'll do. God's arms are always open. God will never stop loving you. God said you're valuable. God says you're one of the most valuable things He's ever created. Ladies and gentlemen, no one is better than another person, no one is less than another person. All ground is equal at the foot of the cross. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you. God bless you. I'll be praying for you. And I'll see you next week.